Story time about how I caught my teachers doing the nasty in the girls' bathroom. So a little background information. I was 14 years old and in 9th grade, and we're just gonna get straight into it. So the one day while I was at school, I asked my teacher if I could go to the bathroom, and as I'm walking up towards the bathroom, you know how school bathrooms or any public bathroom in general, like it echoes? Yeah, well, as I got closer to the bathroom, I hear quiet grunting and heavy breathing. But of course, I thought that someone was just going number 2, okay? I did not think anything of this because duh, what else would be happening in a school bathroom? Anyway, so like I said, I walk in not thinking anything of this, and then bam, I see my history and biology teacher doing it in the open stall. The open stall. Like, come on guys, it is bad enough. Y'all are doing this in a public bathroom on school property where there are hundreds of minors walking around, but in the open stall, y'all need to have some class. So obviously when I see them, I like gasp. I'm like, oh, because walking into a school bathroom, that is not what I expect to see, nor do I want to see that. So then Mr. C hurries up, pulls his pants up, and then just sits on the toilet. And then my bio teacher, Miss Annabelle, she turns like bright red and she's trying to cover herself, her whole body with her hands, like girly pop. We already established that this is very immoral / disgusting / downright foul as f***. But you really just have to take all of your clothes off. All of them. Not only that, but Miss Annabelle over here is f***ing married. Like, girl, shame on you. Anyway, so for some reason, the first thing that I thought to say was, I'm gonna tell your husband. Even though I knew I wasn't gonna do shit. But it's literally the only thing that I could think to say in this moment. Well then, Mr. C jumps off the damn toilet, and you guys will never guess what his first thought to do is. Is it to try to de-escalate the situation? No. Is it to try to bribe me? No. Guess again. Run? Never mind, I'm just gonna fucking tell you. He turns to her and starts crying. Not about the fact that his ass was about to be fired. No. Instead, he's like, do you love me? He did not seem to give a fuck about him, which go off sis, because you need to be more worried about how you're gonna pay them bills without a job. Anyway, so yeah, you know, she's hurrying up, putting her clothes on, he's crying, and then finally they both direct their attention towards me, and then they corner me and start threatening me. They're like, if you tell anybody about this, we're gonna make sure that we make the rest of your high school experience a living hell, blah, 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 this, that, and the next. Like, okay, fight for the bag. But at the same time, y'all keep digging yourselves a deeper grave. I mean, shit, like, you do you, but at the same time, like, girl and sir, get it together. Anyway, so as a freshman, like, I'm scared as like, I didn't know what that meant, and I was not about to find out. So obviously, I tell them what they want to hear, and then finally they leave, and my crybaby ass starts having a fucking panic attack. Okay, actually though, like, I'm not a crybaby. I was just threatened by 2 grown-ass adults. Also, I wasn't even sure if anybody would believe me. But then I did remember that this is school, and there are cameras everywhere, because duh, it's the 21st century, and we have weirdos and psychos out here doing shit they're not supposed to do. Cough, cough, Miss Annabelle and Mr. C. Anyway, so I'm crying the whole walk back to class, and when I walked in, the teacher ran over and she's like, oh my gosh, are you okay? What happened? And then I asked her if we could talk outside because I did not want to say what I just saw in front of the whole class. Also, I was low-key hesitant to tell anybody because Miss Annabelle had 3 kids and a husband, so I didn't want to rip her family apart. But then again, I decided not to give a because sis should have thought about them kids before she chose dick over them. Yeah, anyways. So then after I tell her, she immediately gets a teacher to cover the class, and she takes me to the guidance office. Could y'all imagine if this teacher was friends with those other teachers? Like, I wonder if this teacher still would have told anybody else what happened. Cause you know how like you want to save your friends sometimes, you know, Captain Save-A-Ho type shit. Anyway, so they called both of them down, and I had to tell the whole situation again in front of them. Thankfully, security stood next to me because I was scared shitless from the threats that they made towards me. Well, baby, the cameras do not lie. They were caught in 4K doing shit they weren't supposed to be doing. After this, both of them were fired, and my parents decided to take me out of that school because they were not very thrilled at the fact that I was threatened by 2 teachers.
Anyways, I got my braces on in 7th grade, and I was supposed to get them off the summer before 9th grade. And it was 11th grade at this point, and I, 1, had not gotten them off, and 2, had not been to the orthodontist in 6 months because they would keep scheduling my appointments and then canceling them, scheduling, cancel. It was just a cycle that went on for 6 months. And for anyone who doesn't have braces, you're supposed to get your braces like looked at and tightened every 4 to 6 weeks, okay? And it had been way longer than 4 to 6 weeks since I had been to the orthodontist. And they finally get us, they finally want to see me, and we're like, okay, let's go. We go into the orthodontist office, and everything is completely revamped. And I'm not talking decor, I'm talking people. Like receptionist, gone, replaced. Dental hygienist, gone, replaced. Orthodontist, my orthodontist, gone, okay? They didn't even utter her name, okay? And this practice was named after her, okay? So they're not saying her name or anything like that, not mentioning where she is, nothing. And we're like, okay, that's a little weird, but whatever. And so the new orthodontist, like he, you know, takes a look at my mouth, and the one thing you don't want to hear a medical professional ever say when they look at you is uh-oh. And he said uh-oh as soon as he looked at my mouth, and I'm like, uh-oh, like, why are we saying uh-oh? And he says, the way that previous orthodontist had told you to wear your rubber bands, it was incorrect, first of all, and it has shifted your entire jaw to the right. The bottom half of my jaw, like shifting right, okay? And once again, I didn't notice anything like these past few months that I didn't notice anything wrong with my face until he showed me in the mirror and he pointed it out and he's like, yeah, this to the right, okay? And it wasn't like Tyler Posey level like shifted, but it was shifted, okay? Like it was bad. And I was like, can you please fix this? Like, what do I do? What do I do? And the guy says, yeah, as far as the braces go, they can't really fix that. Like, once your jaw has shifted, you can't shift back. It's done. And he said, you have 3 options, though. He was like, you can just get your braces off now. Like, call it quits. You're done. Like, it can't get any worse at this point, just if you take them off. And we're like, okay. And he says, option number 2, you can keep wearing your braces and you can get your teeth straight, but you're always going to have an overbite and you're always going to have that jaw shift, okay? And he's like, in option 3, you can get surgery on your jaw. Like, they will crack your jaw and manually shift it for you. I was 15. I had SATs to worry about. I am not getting jaw surgery. Like, it's not happening. And I was like, okay. So I'm like, let me just go tell my mom that. Okay, and I go tell my mom, and she is mad, which for valid reason. Once again, her and my dad are paying for this, and braces are expensive, like thousands and thousands of dollars that they've been paying for about 4 years at this point, and now they've just been told that it's for nothing because our previous orthodontist screwed up and shifted my jaw to the right. And we're like, okay. So my mom, my parents, they discussed it and they're like, okay, obviously we're going to sue. This is malpractice. Like, we just want our money back. Like, we just need our money back. And so we find a new orthodontist who's actually like a family friend. Like, him and my dad are tight, I guess. And that new orthodontist, he says the same thing. He's like, this is like, you need to sue. This is an open and shut case. Like, it is, you are going to get your money back. And we're like, okay, that's exactly what we need. And so he gets us in contact with this lawyer, and we talk to this lawyer, and he's like, yeah, this is an open shut case. Like, you were done wrong. Like, you need your money back. Like, this is bad. Like, they cannot get away with this. And we're like, okay, so what do we do? And this lawyer says, I'm just going to send over some paperwork. After that, it'll get the whole process going. Super easy process because this is an open shut case. Like, you should be good. There shouldn't be any like hiccups that we need to worry about. You're fine. Just, get this paperwork started and we'll get this case going. We're like, okay, beautiful. Paperwork never comes. It had been about 2 to 3 weeks at this point. No paperwork and radio silence from that lawyer. And we're like, okay, that's a little suspicious. What's going on? My dad is obviously calling during this time, trying to get an update. And it's to the point where he is calling every single day and leaving a message, trying to get in contact with this lawyer. Nothing. Okay, we haven't heard a single thing. And so after more and more time of my dad calling, we finally get in contact, okay? And the lawyer picks up and we're like, hey, is everything okay? Like, what happened? Like, we never got the paperwork. Like, we just didn't get it. And the lawyer said, this was like around the time that Hurricane Harvey had hit Houston. And the lawyer's properties, all of them were in Houston and just kaput, underwater, they're done. And so lawyer is like, I'm putting a pause on my law practice because I currently have no law practice right now because it is underwater, done, okay? He says, I'm not practicing law right now. I just need to focus on getting my properties in order. I'm so sorry, hope for the best. My dad is like, hey, no worries. Like, you have a lot on your plate. Don't even worry about it. Like, praying for you. Hope everything turns out okay. We're just gonna get a new lawyer. And so we get in contact with the new lawyer, and he pretty much says the same thing. He's like, yeah, this is an open shut case. You're good. We just need to get your money back, get this paperwork done, and we can get started. And we're like, great, paperwork, that's it. That's all we have to do. Paperwork never comes, okay? And we're like, what? This is like the easy part of this whole process. Like, what's going on? Did not get any paperwork, okay? And so my dad is calling constantly to this lawyer and he's not getting any response at all. He's calling daily, once again, leaving messages, everything like that, okay? And weeks and weeks and weeks go by, and someone finally picks up the phone, and it's actually the lawyer's brother. And we're like, why is the brother answering the phone? Like, what's going on? And so my dad is like, hey, like, I'm trying to get in contact with, like, blah, blah, blah. Like, he was supposed to send him over some paperwork. Is everything okay? And the lawyer is like, yeah, he has been in the hospital for a few weeks because he got into an accident and he broke both of his arms and legs. Both of his arms and legs gone, okay? Because he's not going to be practicing law right now, because obviously he needs to get rehabilitated, get control of his limbs again, because of this horrific accident. My dad is like, oh my god, praying for you and your family. I hope everything turns out okay. Don't worry about this. We're gonna find a new lawyer. Don't worry. Hope everything turns out okay. And we tell our orthodontist, we're like talking to the new orthodontist, and we're like, hey, like, this happened again, like, what's going on? And the orthodontist is like, that is weird that it happened not once but twice. And then our orthodontist is like, you know what, like, I'll put you in contact with my, like, he's a friend, and he's like, he specializes in malpractice suits. Like, he knows a lot about the medical field, knows a lot about the law field, combine them, malpractice, and he thinks that your case is so open and shut easy that he's gonna do it pro bono, okay? And we're like, this is everything we could ask for, okay? So we once again get into contact with this lawyer, and super nice guy from what I heard. I didn't personally talk to him, but my dad said he was really great, really professional, and he said the same thing that we've been hearing, that this is an open shut case, everything should be good. It's not going to be that difficult. Like, this is malpractice, like, to a T, textbook malpractice. And we're like, okay, let me guess, like, we need to sign some paperwork and get the ball rolling. And the guy's like, yep, that's all we need from you guys right now, just paperwork. Surprise, paperwork actually makes it to us. And we're like, oh my god, okay, so we made it past the first step. Never done that before. And so we signed the paperwork and we, send it back, and then radio silence. We don't hear anything from this lawyer. Nothing. No emails, calls, nothing, okay? My dad is once again freaking out because this, like, third time that a lawyer has ghosted us over something that they would consider the easiest textbook malpractice case they've ever had, okay? My dad is calling him over and over again, nothing. Emailing him, nothing, okay? And then my dad goes to our orthodontist. He's like, hey, like, can you get in contact with your friend? Like, this is really weird. He's not answering anything. And our orthodontist is like, yeah, dude, like, I got it. Don't worry about it. I'll contact him. Maybe he's, I don't know, going through a rough time, whatever. So now my orthodontist is calling him, and my dad is calling him. So two people are trying to get in contact with this man, okay? Don't hear anything for a long time. And then my orthodontist calls once again for, I don't even know for what time it was, like, of him calling. And he called him, and the receptionist picks up, and our orthodontist is like, hey, like, where is blah, blah, blah? Like, I've been trying to get in contact with him. Like, I was supposed to, they sent over the paperwork. Like, what's going on? The receptionist starts bawling, okay? Bawling. And we're like, okay, why is she crying? Why is she crying? What's going on? And the receptionist is like, oh, like, you didn't hear. And our orthodontist is like, hear what? Like, what's going on? And she says that the lawyer had a heart attack and he had passed away. He died. He is not practicing law anymore because he is 6 feet under. He's done. Law career over. Life over, because he is dead. Okay? And that is just, like, it is so heartbreaking. Like, that is awful. And the orthodontist was like, prayers to him and his family. Like, I hope everything is okay. And so he tells my dad that, and my dad is like, okay, we're done with this whole body, like, this trail of bodies that we're leaving of lawyers. Like, it can't be. Like, this is, like, we're done. Like, we cannot hurt any more people trying to get this case to go through. And so my dad goes directly to my old orthodontist, the one that had told me about this whole mishap, and he told him, like, dude, this is the story of what's happening. Like, please just, all I want is a refund. I don't even want to sue you anymore. Just give me a refund. And the orthodontist, after hearing all that, he was like, yeah, no, take the money. Don't.
How I have 3 dads. Today I am hosting my first Thanksgiving ever, so I thought it would be an appropriate time. Okay, so it is the 1980s. My mom and dad are dating, and oops, my mom gets pregnant with me on accident, and they have a shotgun wedding. I think my mom was like 6 months pregnant or something like that. And unfortunately, the marriage did not last. I think they were only married for like a year. One thing I will say about that is I have no memories of my parents being together or married. So, I really have no issue with that. And like I said, I just know nothing else. So now we're gonna fast forward to when I think I am about 3 years old, maybe a little bit older, and my mom meets my future stepdad, and they get married when I am 5. I sort of just realized that my mom follows me here on TikTok, and there is a chance that she might be slightly horrified that I'm telling the whole world about this, but you know, you guys don't technically know who she is, so sorry, Mom. Okay, so because my mom married my stepdad when I was 5, he's really my father figure, and you know, my memories growing up are with him as my dad, and those, you know, just like typical childhood memories. I think I was 6, maybe 7, I don't know, he might have to remind me, when I actually asked him if I could start calling him dad. And he's the cutest because he says this is like one of the best days of his life when I asked him that question. And of course he said yes. So he absolutely sees me as his daughter, and I see him as my father. So now growing up, I split time, not 50-50, but like I spent time with my dad during the summers. He was in Oregon and then Wisconsin. And one thing I will say is that the relationship between my real birth dad and my stepdad was always amazing. There was absolutely no drama that I can remember. Like, you know, maybe in the beginning, I'm sure, but like, I don't really remember too much drama or anything like that. My real dad is just so thankful that I had my stepdad in my life and like that father figure to marry me. So it's really sweet. In fact, when me and my husband got married back in 2013, they both walked me down the aisle. Okay, so now we're gonna get to where things kind of suck a little bit for me. My mom and my stepdad were married for 14 years. So when I was a freshman in college, I came home to visit one weekend, and my mom told me that they were getting divorced. I was 19 and I was devastated. Their breakup was just very difficult for me. Obviously, I knew nothing else than like my mom and my stepdad being together. So, you know, even as an adult where I can rationalize things a bit better, I actually had just such a difficult time with it. I'm in college, a young adult, trying to figure out all that shit too. I, at the time, was also dating the worst man ever who was emotionally, abusive, for sure. Also, just for like everybody in the family, it was just a really difficult time. One thing I forgot to mention is that when I was 11, my mom and stepdad had my half brother. So at the time he was 7, which I think is also just a really difficult time to see your parents get a divorce. Okay, anywho, moving on from that though, we eventually all got through it together and, you know, move forward. So now it is the fall of 2009, and my mom is on a Mexican cruise, and she meets this man and his whole family from New Zealand. Like, he literally lives in New Zealand, but he's on this Mexican cruise. My mom was in the United States, obviously, and they met and fall in love while they're on this cruise. And if I'm being completely honest with you, I was like, excuse me, what? What is happening right now? Like I said, my mom follows me here on TikTok, and I'm sure she knows that. Also, my stepsisters follow me here, and I'm sure they were thinking the same too, because it was just like wild. And I am 21 at this point. Also in that same year, in the May of the same year, earlier that year, I met my future husband down in college. I guess it was the year of love. So they just basically, like right off from the bat, like I said, fell in love. They did like back and forth between the United States and New Zealand quite a few times. And then he asked her to marry her. And he moved here to the United States to be with her. And they were engaged for a while. I'll be honest with you, I can't really remember all of the details. But they ended up getting married in 2012, the year before my husband and I got married. And I really like him. We got along really well. He absolutely adores my mother, which is obviously the most important thing to me, is that, you know, she is loved the way she deserves and, you know, is super happy. But yeah, he's great. So now if we're counting, that's my third dad. Actually, wait, if we're actually counting, I technically have 4 because I got married and now I have my father-in-law. Another thing I will say is that when my mom and my first stepdad, or my dad who raised me, got divorced when I was still in college, they, you know, moved out and got their own homes, but they ended up like moving, like sort of like, they're just really close neighborhoods out here. So that's been really nice. They still live in those same areas. So they're nice and close, which is also great for my brother, that we can all be, you know, like really close together. Let's talk about the dynamics a little bit. Let's just be honest. Obviously things are not rainbows and butterflies all the time. That's 2 ex-husbands for my mom. And, you know, and their families and all of the associated drama. But one thing I will say is, like, there's been blips in the road, but now that we are where we are, I think everyone's doing a really good job. One thing that I'm extremely thankful for is my family's ability to be all together and for it to seem normal. Since my husband and I have had kids now, all of them are invited to the same birthday parties, and it never ceases to amaze me how they just can come together and like they all talk to one another. They have full-blown conversations. Like, I'm very, very thankful for the dynamic and what we have. Not to mention these extra dads of mine, they love my children so much, and how lucky are my children that they have 4 grandfathers. The last summer, my real dad, my birth dad, moved from Wisconsin here to Arizona. So my whole family is now here in Arizona, which is, once again, like I said, amazing. But the holidays get absolutely crazy visiting 3 sides of just my family, which is why for this year, for Thanksgiving, I was like, y'all be crazy. I am going to be hosting Thanksgiving for literally everyone, and you all need to come to me. Also, I have to say this, that it's hilarious when we are all together and I make a comment like, oh yeah, go over there, like my dad has it. People are always like, could you clarify? And I'm like, oh, sorry, dad number 2. And my mom has like the best sense of humor about it. It's like one of her best qualities is that she can be so self-deprecating. So yeah, there you have it. There's a story of how I have 3 dads.
I used to risk my fucking life on the war front, aka I used to go out religiously for Black Friday. Also, trigger warning, big forehead, make them in your business. Growing up, I always loved the idea of Black Friday shopping, except my parents were gonna just like drop me off at the mall when I was 13 at 3 o'clock in the morning to like fist fight an old woman, you know what I mean? But by the time I was like 16, my friends all got their license and cars and stuff, so it was a lot easier to be like, hey parents, I'm gonna go at like 4 o'clock in the morning on Black Friday. So when I told my mom I was going with a friend, she's like, that's fine, but you're not allowed to go to Walmart. Because Walmart was like the hot spot to go. Like, I didn't even shop at Walmart in my own time, but like on Black Friday, that's where you want to go because that's where all the crazy deals are. But that's also where all the crazy people are. I was like, Mom, that's not fair. Like, I'm gonna go to Walmart and get 8% off my TV. And she's like, no, you're literally gonna die if you go to Walmart. Like, don't do that. It used to be 4 o'clock in the morning. My friend picks me up in her car and we go to Starbucks and get our vanilla bean frappuccinos. But the Starbucks happened to be like right next to the Walmart. So I was like, ooh, like, let's go check it out and see what's going on over at Walmart. And I kid you not, there were tents near the front of the door. There was a line like wrapped around the building. The parking lot was full. Like, there was this woman trying to bribe people to be like, I will give you money if you let me get in line with you. Like, it was nuts. My friend and I were like, maybe we don't want to wait in this line, so we just ended up going to the mall. We drive to the mall and we're like, okay, let's enter through Macy's. So we end up parking the car, we get in line, we have like a half hour left till the doors open. Super easy, we get in, everything's great. We go right to the junior section, and that's where I make eye contact with a beautiful pair of Uggs. We're talking like up to the calf, kind of dark brown. Like, now they're a little ugly, but it's 2015. Like, this is huge. And they weren't Bear Claws, which are the knockoffs that I was literally wearing at the time. No, they were real Uggs, and they were $20. Under the pile, and I see there's only one size 7 left. So I'm like, oh, you're coming home with me. And you'll never guess what reaches over my fucking shoulder. This old ratty wrinkly arm. And she's like, oh, I'm sorry, like, I had these. And I'm like, it's so funny you say that because the box is literally in my hand. And she's like, I'm sorry, like, my daughter needs these shoes. And I'm like, that's so funny because I need these shoes. She's like, you're wearing Uggs. I'm like, they're Bear Claws. And then after going back and forth with a fucking teenager for a minute, she's like, okay, how much do you want for them? And I'm like, what? She's like, I will pay you. She's like, you want $100? I'll give you $100. Give me the shoes. And I'm like, oh my god, someone's trying to bribe me for these. Oh, my friend and I just yanked the shoes back and started running to the checkout. She's like, security! Security! They stole my shoes! I'm gonna sue you! The craziest part is that when I got back home, I learned that people died at that Walmart. Like, 4 people who were in the front got like trampled on and they ended up dying. And like 7 people were injured, like broken arms and shit. Just don't do it like they used to.
My boyfriend, 27 male, didn't propose to me, 26 female, in the agreed upon time, and I feel like I'm going crazy. My partner didn't propose in time, and I'm considering leaving. It's been over 8 years. We started dating at 18 in college. I understood that we would have to wait to get engaged because we were so young. However, I feel like that it has been too long. He says we are almost at the finish line, but I keep seeing that line being pushed further and further back. First, we said we would wait until we were financially stable. Then he wanted to go to law school after 2 years of being out of college. We always said we would be engaged when law school was over, but then the bar exam came and sidetracked that. We recently moved and now we are waiting to see how much our old apartment charges us for damages. My deadline was the day after he graduated. I had already been waiting an extra 3 years because he chose to go to law school. We have enough money in our bank account. I get that he wants to be extremely financially stable, but it's September and I am breaking. Every time I talk to him about it, it gets pushed further back. He says we are 2 months away, but I ran out of patience 4 months ago. It's driving me crazy and I feel like it has ruined the idea of being engaged for me. I wanted it to be spontaneous and out of love, but I don't think that was ever going to happen. I don't think he's scared of marriage. He offers to marry me at a courthouse all the time. I just think he doesn't care about all of the romantic stuff and he's just going through the motions for me. I have been pushed 4 months past my breaking point and I don't know if I have ruined our relationship by pushing the issue. Right now it's to the point where getting engaged will no longer make me happy. Is it over? Am I just fooling myself? Have I gone mad? I just want to say that I've never given him a deadline. The deadline was for me to leave. It was in my head.
Today I messed up by not realizing that my shoulder has been out of place for years. Okay, so a few years ago, I injured my shoulder doing some dumb activity that I don't remember. I thought at the time that I tore my rotator cuff because my shoulder was really hurting and I couldn't move it fully. Anytime I raised my arm, it wouldn't let me go past a certain point without a lot of pain. I didn't use it very much for about a month and tried to heal myself due to not being able to afford going to the doctor. And that actually seemed to help it. The pain went away when I wasn't using it, and I thought that my injury was finally healing. Yay! I started working out and my shoulder pain came back with a vengeance. But I was stubborn. I wasn't gonna let my injury hold me back. I pushed through the pain because I figured that if my shoulder got stronger, the muscles being built up would compensate for the tear, and eventually I wouldn't even notice it there, right? So that's what I did, and it actually worked a lot better than I expected it to. Over time, through working out, I noticed the pain less and less, and it stopped being something that I thought about every time it started hurting. I still had a limited range of motion, but I stopped noticing that as well. I got so used to it that I figured it had healed. I didn't notice the pain when I worked out, even though it was still there. When I got into heavier weights, my shoulder would almost move. It would pop a lot. I just associated that with it being normal due to a previous injury. And then my girlfriend wanted to learn some cool dancing dips. We would practice me flinging her around, dipping her, general dance moves. Well, we weren't fully sober and were just messing around and trying things we hadn't before. Being overly confident with new tricks in our inebriated state and shit. I tried something new and didn't realize I was close to an obstacle. If I had continued, I would have booped her head into it. So to save her the pain, I instinctively moved her out of harm's way at the expense of my balance. I fell hard on my shoulder. Both my hands were on her, and I felt my shoulder dislocate, and then an immediate pop back into place. It hurt way less than I imagined a dislocation to feel, but I wasn't even thinking about the pain. My shoulder had suddenly gotten its full range of motion back. Not only could I move it up and back, a motion previously impossible, but I could do it without any pain or popping. I'm such a dumbass, y'all.
Am I the astronaut for telling my kids that if they don't go to my wedding, I will not be attending their wedding? I'll start at the beginning. My ex-husband was a good father, but a terrible husband. I divorced him when my oldest was 14 and youngest was 10. Well, he ended up spiraling and the kids were exposed to that. I was blamed for ruining Dad. He got better after a few years, but ended up doing it again when he learned that I was dating. So the kids kept trying to get me not to date since it will affect their dad. It was an awful time since to the kids, I was responsible for what he did and reacted to things. In the end, I just kept my dating on the low end, which wasn't hard since it wasn't introducing the kids to the men anyways. All I had to change was not posting on social media. Also, yes, I sent the kids to therapy. They all stopped when they hit 18, or my middle child refused to talk, so I pulled him. The oldest is now 25 and the youngest is 21, and I got proposed to. I sat them down and told them. They were not happy and were pissed that I was doing this to Dad. Lots of talk later, and I thought it was good. The wedding is in 2 weeks. I got a text from all of the kids saying that they will not be at my wedding, that they need to support Dad during this time. I had enough and texted them that if they don't want to go to my wedding, it will damage our relationship and I will not be attending their own weddings when they get married. They were pissed and it started an argument and all of them think that I am a huge jerk. I truly hate that I can't do anything that makes me happy since it will affect my ex. All right, update time. Ready? Here we go. Here's the update. I realized I am okay letting them go. I can't do it anymore. I sent a text that it's up to them if they go or not. If they do go, I hope to fix this relationship. If not, I'm just done. I can't keep playing this game. It's for everything. Anytime I have something good, his feelings have to come first. I can't do that anymore. It hurts too much. I could tell them everything he has done, but I don't feel like blowing up their image of him. Update 2, someone private messaging me convinced me to lay it all out for them. So I said it and sent every single thing, including this post, even with showing old screenshots that were in our divorce case. I think it's over. Thanks to everyone that tried to help. I think I knew this was a no-win situation. No.